Hello, everyone. How's it going? Welcome to the end game now, the final part of our React Native Mobile Expo, React Native Expo mobile app that we were building. We have done like three parts on this. In the first two parts, we did a completely different app, which was just to get started, just some basics about how do you add images, how do you add text in a native mobile application. And then we went on to build a reminders application, kind of like, let's say, a to do, but we'll call it reminders. Okay. So kind of went on to create a reminders application, and we completed like the first part of that reminders application. Now we are doing the second part today, the second part of that. So basically four streams, and this is the fourth and final part. I'll try and complete every possible thing that's remaining, and anything that I won't be able to complete will still be available as a part of not as a part of, it will be available on the GitHub repository. Okay, we'll wait for a couple of minutes for other folks to join. As I understand, Twitch shows a paywall, so we'll have to wait for them. Anyways, how's everyone doing? It's pretty late in India right now. I think it's like what, 3:30 a.m. Even for me, it's like pretty late. In the UK, it's like uh 10 p.m. right now. So you might see a notification or two of sleep mode on, go to sleep. And I think in as per ET, this is like 5 p.m. ET. So I'm assuming like a very less turnout would be there. But nevertheless, the video will always be available on YouTube for you to watch later. So yeah. Anyways, before we begin, I would request you all to please register for the stream so that there's a record of you joined. It helps me, it helps you, it helps MLH to keep track. And as I always do, some background music before we get started. Okay, so anyone who does not have link to the previous code base, let me send it to you. It is available on my GitHub. The link is in the chat. So you can basically simply just go over and clone this repository. I should probably add a README, which I will do right now. Okay, so what is this? It is MLH reminders app. Built with React Native and Expo. To start, what we need to have, ensure you have Expo Go installed on your phone, Play Store / App Store. So this is also a quick walkthrough for folks who are joining me in this session for the first time ever. So if you want to build this, what you have to do is what I'm going to write down. Ensure that you have Expo Go installed, then clone the repository, then just do a npm install, assuming you have node v20 and above, npm v10 and above. Okay, so some notes here. Just simply do npm install, and then do npx expo start dash c starts expo without, yeah, without any cache. Okay, so basically like reset cache kind of. You will get a QR code once you do that. Scan it with camera. So on iPhone, if you have installed Expo Go on iPhone, then you'll have to scan it with your camera. Open in Expo Go. For Android, you can scan inside Expo Go app itself. Perfect. So I think this would make sense for anyone who has watched the videos, but even if you haven't, you can simply follow these instructions and get a native app running on your machine. Okay, let me just quickly push this. Also, the QR code that I was talking about is right here. Okay, moving on. Perfect. Hopefully goes to the right one. Yeah, there we go. Isn't this nice? Some notification, some instructions about how to get started. Now, what are we going to do today? So let me restart this again. So we are going to do a bunch of things, but we'll keep it simple. We want to complete the MVP actually. So in our third stream, we had basically added this new reminders option of, giving this input box and some priority icons and this save and close. So you can type something here. So like, let's say GHW session priority medium save, and we were just putting it on console. uh, the data that you see here, like this 243, this was coming from some mock data that we had created. We had added like two tabs right here, which was nice. And so kind of we have like three screens, right? And what we want to do next is complete this, remove all the mock data, the fake data that we are using. That's our first thing to do. Secondly, add some more options right here. So not just title, but also a date picker, a time picker. Okay, that would be like amazing, because that's more native, right? It's required, it's there in every app, nearly every app that you use. So yeah, we need to add a date picker, a time picker, remove references to mock data, actually add real data, then save the data in local storage equivalent. So if you are working with browser, if you have experience working with browsers, then you know that you can simply store some data in local storage, which is unfortunately not the case in mobile apps. Okay, it's not called local storage, but there is something called as React Native Async Storage, which kind of does the same thing. Okay, it's just not called local storage, but it does the same thing. So we need to add that as well. uh, then sync between the data. Okay, and you'll find that once we start coding, you'll find that I can go here, add some data, click on save, and that is okay, but it still does not sync properly. Okay, between that screen, the add new reminder screen, and this all reminders screen. So there is a very simple thing to do for that, but we also need to add that functionality. And the completed, the options, the actions. So once we get the data right here, then we want to have some buttons there, which will be like on, like let's say a delete button, on click of which it should show a pop-up saying delete this, or a completed button which on click should basically go like, oh, you have completed this reminder, then it should go to this completed reminders page, right? So there are like so many functionalities and so less time. So that is why what I'm going to do is, since I have prepared for this session, I have some code about it. And at any point I feel like, okay, this is going to be repetitive, I will copy paste that code. I'll still explain it to you, but I'll push this so you can always have access to the code. Okay. I think that's good enough introduction to this session. Let's get coding. I will go away from your screen so that you can focus solely on the screen of what we are going to build. And anyone who's joining right now, hello, hello, hello. We'll share the link again in the chat. Link to the code, the existing code. Okay, let's go over things one by one. So the first thing that I want to do is actually fix one thing, and not exactly a fix per se, it's more like an alternative and better way to do something. So you see this button, this plus button, okay, this is nice. But if someone has, like I have a broader finger, I'll call myself like a fat finger, and I try to click like, points away, some like s- pixels away from that plus button, it does not work. Okay. Why? Because we have added in our code, we have said that on click of this plus icon, you do this action of on press, right? Instead, I think what I would like is to add some more area where you can click. Okay. Like right here is where I need to click, which is, if I do this, you can see this is where I need to click for this action to happen. So how can I increase the area around a button so that I have more space to click on something? Okay. And that is the first problem that we'll solve or fix, kind of. To fix that, we will use the pressable. So pressable, if you remember, it is an offering from React Native, which is what you would use to create buttons. It gives you so many additional functionalities. One of the functionalities is called hit slop. Okay. And it is basically the additional distance that you want to add around something. Like in our case, we want to add some more distance around this, so that if I click somewhere even here, it should work. Okay. So that is what I'm doing with pressable. Now I need to add the a link tag outside of this to basically say that on click of that, what you need to do is go over to add reminder. Okay. So go to slash add reminder. And by doing that, we have basically taken away this on press from here. And now that will be handled by this link tag. The link tag actually comes from Expo router or Expo router. So that is nice. But now it is not working. So to fix that, the thing is that for a link tag, inside that you cannot have, like, not that you cannot have, but if you're adding components, you have to add this as child prop. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say as child right here. Okay, that should basically fix it. And now if you see, if I click even, here, it works. Okay, the add reminder screen opens. Okay, so in our case, when we are using, like, remember, when you are using the link tag from Expo router to actually route to a particular page, and inside that you are adding a component. So in our case, this feather was a component. If you don't have that, instead, if you have a text, let's say, then you don't have to add the as child. But if you're having a component inside the link tag, you have to add this add as child prop. Okay, so now we have that add button. It has more area for someone to click. Okay, and let's see how long is this area. It works till here, it works till here. Okay, we know, like, someone can click here and it will still open the screen, which is nice. For the back button, I'm going to leave it as is. So if you remember, our back button was somewhere here. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to leave this as is, just so that you have two different kinds of buttons, and then you can, like, Google, like, what's the difference between one and the other. So I'm going to leave that as is. Okay, so that takes away one of my headaches, which was, like, the other day. I was so confused, like, why am I not able to click? And finally, I'm. uh, okay, what else? We have a add reminder. Let's go back to our add reminder. Now, inside our add reminder, we want to add a bunch of more things. We have the title, we have the priority. We should basically add a date. The data type would be date in this case, and the initial would be a new date. Okay, and the library that we are going to use actually has a time picker built in. So that is why we are not going to save the time picker. So the next things that I'm going to add is showing the date picker and the time picker. Okay, so we have show date picker, show time picker, title. Okay, that is good. Now, which library are we going to use? We are going to use something called as the React Native Modal Date Time Picker. So that's a mouthful. So I'll add a link to its library. So this is the one that we are going to use. There's a very nice demo right here, which says, which shows how it looks like. So someone clicks on date picker, and so then it shows what the date would look like. Click on time picker, what time picker would look like. This confirm button and then close button. And on the same side, on the left hand side, you see Android, and it is native to Android. It gives you that native to Android feeling, right? So yeah, I think that's a very good one. And we need to install this. And the way we will install it is we will compare, like, let Expo handle that for us, right? So we'll do npx expo install and the name of our library. And also, let me share this command in the chat. So why are we doing expo install? Because then it would kind of sometimes, okay, not for all libraries, but for some libraries, it checks what is a compatible version to install. Don't want that. And yep, there we go. Also, for the time being, I think it's good to have a .npmrc file, and we can do like save exact equals to true, which should kind of take away at least sometimes the headache of going back, removing the caret or the tilde. Okay. Quick npm install again and npx expo start, and then we'll leave from here, come back to our code. Okay. So okay, let me add it right here. So let's add some functions. Normally you would like first use the component and then start adding functions, but I know that I eventually have to add it, so might as well do it right now. So this is the handle date confirm. So when someone chooses a particular date and then clicks on the confirm button, which we actually see here, okay, in their example, there's this confirm button. So you choose a date and then you click on that confirm button. That is what this is going to do. Then in that case, when someone clicks on that, we will say set date to be actually equal to whatever is the date that they have selected, and set the show date picker to false. Okay, so hide the date picker once they have selected a date, of course, right? Similarly, we can have a handle time confirm, which will again take this selected actually time. We'll call this a time, selected time, which if you know it's part of the date. Okay, and then now we will say set date to be selected time, and set show date time, show time picker to be false. And now in our handle save, what we can do, like we have actually multiple things to do. For now, I will just make one change, which is I will show an alert here. Alert validation error, comma, please provide a title for the reminder, and then we'll simply return from here. Okay, and I think that is good. Then we have our container, or which is basically the outermost div, if I say so. Then inside that we have some text, and then we have this input where user can add an input. And next to this, now this is where we'll use our the datetime picker. Okay, so touchable opacity, and here we will say that on press, what it needs to do is it needs to call the set show date picker and pass it the value true, and we'll give it a style. So style equals to styles dot date picker button, but we haven't added the style actually, so that's okay. Next we will say use a text. We'll add a style to it later, and that would be like styles dot left aligned text. Okay, and we'll say select, should probably close this and take the select out from here to here, select date, and now we will say the date that we have above here in the use state, this particular date. So date dot to locale date string. Okay, and this simply will ensure that it shows only the date. Now I'm going to copy this and paste it right below, because it's kind of going to be very similar for time. Now touchable opacity, of course, on press, yes. Now instead of showing the date picker, we will kind of say this is the time picker. Goes to true. Style is date picker button. That same style can apply to this one. Okay, and then there's the text where styles and left align text, of course, again. And now instead of saying select date, we'll say select time. Okay, and actually I want to break this in two lines, because I also want to make one more change. So date dot to locale date, instead of date we'll say in to locale time string, and now we'll pass in a list of locales, which in this case is everything. And then we will say that only show hours of 2 digit and minute, okay, of 2 digit. Otherwise, it also shows seconds, and I'm pretty sure none of us actually want a date time picker for our reminders where we have to complete a task on at a particular second. Day, like hours and minutes is good enough, I feel. Okay, so there is the touchable opacity for date. There is a touchable opacity for time. Now let's call our date time picker model. So date time picker. Okay, and in my case, I will say date time picker model actually, which unfortunately did not get imported automatically. No worries, we can manually import it, right? So we have to do import date time picker model from react dash native dash model dash date time picker. So this is the name that I'm giving it, date time picker model. Okay, you can call it date time picker, frankly, but I choose to name it different just so that it's clear about what we want. Self closing. Now we can set a bunch of props. The first prop is visible. Okay, should it be visible? And that depends on show date picker. Then you can pass a mode, and the mode options are either you have a date, you have a time, or date time. In this case, this would be date. Then there is the text color. Now this is important because I learned the hard way that if you don't set this and you actually check it on your phone is in dark mode, then it does not show the text for some reason. So you have to specify the text color. Then on confirm, when someone clicks on the confirm button, we want to call the handle date confirm function that we wrote. And then on cancel, like we'll also, of course, it will have a cancel button. In that case, we'll just say that show date picker, set that to false. Okay, so now if I go here, just quickly let me reload this. Even though we haven't added the styles, it should still be there. There we go. Select date. It shows the current date, today's date, and the current time. And I click on that slightly, and there we go. I don't know if you can hear the sound, but yes, there we go. 17th November 2029. Click on confirm. 17th November 2029. Okay. So we'll style it. We will style it. Don't worry. Now that was the date time picker. When we clicked on confirm, it closed as well, and I click on cancel, it closes as well. Okay, so that works. Now I'm going to copy paste that and just make a few changes. Example. Now for the time, the visibility depends on show time picker. The mode would be time. In this case, this is fine. On confirm, it should call the handle time confirm, and on cancel, it should basically set the show time picker to false. And now if I click on the time, perfect, still remains at 2020, like 22:27. I go to 36. Yeah, okay, that works nice. And I confirm this, and 37 it is. Okay, that works. Perfect. So next step, let's actually style this very quickly so that we don't leave it behind. A B C D. What was it? Date picker button. Line items to be flex start. Background color to be theme dot colors dot white 95. Oh, you can see the colors in this theme file. Okay, so these are the colors that we have added, or at least I added. White 100 to white 10, black 100 to black 50. Very weird kind of numbering system I have. This is more like translucent color. The blue, green, yellow, red, some primary color that I have added. Okay. I found this very cool extension, and I am not doing an advertisement for them, but it was like really nice. Color highlight. Yeah, this one. Okay. It highlights any color. The only problem comes is if, let's say, you are not a front end developer, and let's say this is part of some hex code that you have, okay, or hex string or some base 64 encoding or decoding, which results in like 6 digits or 3 digits which correspond to a color, then it highlights that as well. Okay, so what I mean is, if I go like export const my hex value equals to, for some reason it starts with a hash, and that's so on and so forth. Okay, so I found that with something that I was writing, and it's like, wait, why is this a color? Anyways, if you want something like that, I think this gives you a very nice visualization of what your colors look like based on the hex code right in your VS Code, which is cool. Okay, so back to add reminders. Yeah, we were adding some background color. We can add some border radius as well. And remember, I said that I will copy paste some stuff because I don't see this. I don't think this should take so much time right now when we are on the clock, literally. Okay, so some padding, some margin, the width of it. Like we wanted to take the 100% width, frankly, of whatever container it is in. Then for the left aligned text, which should come somewhere here. There we go. Oh, IJKL. Fix all auto fixable problems. That's gone. Okay, just added some color to it and the font size, and that should fix it. There we go. There's our select date and select time. Okay, much better style, even though it's sticking on the top. which we can fix later. Okay, going back. So then we had the radio group. Inside that, we had the radio label saying what is the priority, low, medium, and high. Then we had the touchable opacity, which is like, clicking on the button, which was these radio buttons that we had, right? So what's chosen, kind of. Also for priority, yeah, the initial priority, we set it to low always. And then inside this, we are adding styles. We are also adding styles conditionally, kind of, depending on what is the priority, and yeah, a bunch of other stuff. And then we had the save button and the close button. Okay, I think this is good enough. So add your reminder here. Expo GHW, Expo React Native session. It was actually today, and it started for me. It started at 2200. So confirm, priority very high. I click on save. Okay, perfect. There it goes, but it does not print out everything because we were only actually printing just two things for now. But anyways, I think that is good. Okay, cool. Now, for the next bit, which is I'm going to remove this else from here, and we will say const new reminder, and it is going to be of type reminder. And this type reminder, we can actually add it. So I'm going to create a type of a reminder just so that when, like, we can keep it consistent across, right? The whole idea of TypeScript is create types so that you don't forget something. So our reminder will have a string, an ID of string, of type string, sorry, a title that is also going to be a string, a date that will be a string as well, uh, because we are segregating the date and time. Time will be a string as well. Then the priority, and that will be of type priority that we have defined. So it would be like low, medium, high, only that. And then completed, which is going to be an optional prop of boolean, like has this reminder being completed. So now the type of our new reminder should be of type, the const new reminder variable that we are creating should be of type reminder. Okay, and now what it will entail is this: it will have a ID, and now the ID could be anything. Okay, we want a random ID, and we could create our own function for that, but in my case I'm going to just say date.now. Okay, that is going to be our ID. Date.now will always be unique. Okay, and unfortunately it gives a number. And why do I say that it would always be unique? Just simply, yes, allow pasting. There we go. And if I do that again, there's a difference because this is the current time in UTC, I think milliseconds, not milliseconds. The current UTC time since Jan 1, 1970, right? The number of seconds that have elapsed since 1st of Jan 1970. I think that's what it is. Then now, since this is a number, we'll need to do a .to string here. Okay, so that becomes a string. For our date, now we'll do one thing here. We will say that date dot to ISO string, just so that it is kind of same slash fixed, or like basically the first thing that I went for was to locale string, but then depending on the locale that is set on your computer, it might show you something different when you try to convert it. So I went with what is what's better format of converting this, or which is, yeah, which string format would be much better to convert the date so that it is standardized. And I went with 2 ISO string. For the time though, yeah, I think locale time string would work. And we'll just do what we had done before, which was add a list of locales. And the other options are that R will be 2 digit and minute would be 2 digit as well. Then we also want to pass priority, and finally completed. When now this is, as you can see, we are adding this code inside the add reminder. And when you're adding the reminder for the first time, of course it's not completed, right? So this is a what our new reminder would look like. So I'm going to console log that very quickly, and let's add a reminder. Try adding a reminder. This is a reminder for, let's say, 16th of December, and the time is actually 23:30. It is going to be a medium priority, and save, and perfect. There we go. There's an ID, priority, time 23:30. This is a reminder, date of, wait, did I choose November or December? So if I go for 13 January 2024, click on save. Yeah, okay, good. And completed false. Okay, cool. So this works. I think this is the perfect time to push what I have for now. I can kind of say that a reminder screen is nearly done. The last thing that we want to do, which is what I'm going to do after this commit that I push, is I think adding async storage makes sense after this. Also, for solving that issue of margin and padding, I can just say margin bottom to be like 10 points, and that should push everything down. 14, much better. Okay, perfect. So let me push this currently. Okay, I think that is good and has been pushed. So if anyone wants to take a look at the code quickly, they can find it here. Also, if I try to save without, okay, there we go, the validation error. Yes, forgot about that. Okay. So what next? What next? We want to add the storage helper. Okay. Okay. React Native async storage. Now, this is a asynchronous, unencrypted, persistent. Okay, so it will remain there. Key value storage system. So this is basically local storage, but for your phone. There is an alternative to this, which is supposedly much better, which is MMKV React Native. I think it's this one. Yep, I think mostly it is this one. And this is similar to what we have like for the React Native one. Okay. Uh, the React Native async storage, but it's supposed to be like 30 times faster. Okay. And you can see this benchmark of it. So, yeah, you can use this one as well. But for our use case, we'll go with, oops, yeah, this one. Let me share the link in the chat quickly for that. And next, we want to just do a npm expo install, npx expo install. Okay, now I'm tired of killing the server again and again. So I'm going to just add it right here, npx expo install, and it's called at the rate react native slash async storage. And this is what I was talking about, the compatibility check. Okay, so now it says that installing one SDK 51.0.0 compatible. Okay, there we go. Installed without any tilde or anything. And let's start using it. So in our case, what we want to do, I would say, is create a utils folder so that we can create a storage helper. We have a utils folder? Nope. So we can create one. And inside this, I'm going to add a storage helper.ts file. Okay. In this, we are going to, actually, let's start adding the code. So what all do we have? We'll have a bunch of things, but let's start with the very simple, which would be add a reminder. So export const add reminder. Now, the name said it all, that this is a asynchronous storage. So that is why every function that we do or every functionality that we do, it will always be asynchronous. So it will take in the new reminder, the type of which I'm actually importing from our app slash add reminder. So this is more like a type import. And then what we will do is const reminders equals to, we'll need to actually create another function called as fetch reminders, right? Which will fetch everything that is already stored in our async storage, and then on top of that just push the new reminder. And then we will also create a save reminders function with our reminders. So these are two things that we need to create. So let's start one by one. Let's start with fetch reminders. Again, it's going to be async, and this will basically return a promise. Okay, a promise of type reminder, but an array of that. Forgot a const here. Export const this one. Now we'll need to use try catch inside this. So I'm going to use this try catch. Inside the try, we will say const stored reminders equals, let's await the async storage, okay, which is imported from React Native async storage dot get item. Now you need to give it a key. Okay, what is the key? Where to get the item from? Again, from local storage perspective, you have the exact same thing of, where to get the item from. So what I'm going to do is, inside our constants, I'll create another constants file. And here I'll say my storage key is, what is our app name? It is mlh underscore reminders underscore app. So now let's come back and we'll say this is actually storage key. Now what next? Well, we want to return. So now we'll say stored reminders if that exists. Okay, so basically this storage key existed somewhere, like existed in the in memory or wherever they are storing the data. If this actually existed and this actually returned something, then in that case we will parse out, because it would be stored normally as a string. Okay, so we'll parse the data uh, that we got, or we'll return an empty array if, let's say, it did not come back. And if there is any error, so we will do console.error error fetching reminders, and then we'll optionally also add the error that we catch here. And well, eventually we would want to return an empty array, right? Like, let's say there was an error, then what do you want the user to know? Like, user should basically see a empty array that is returned, like nothing came back from there. So that's our fetch reminders. Let's also do the save reminders. So export const save reminders. It will take in reminders, which would be a reminder array. And now in this case, what we will do is, okay, let's see. We'll again do a try catch. Our try would be await async storage dot set item. Okay, so what does this mean? This basically says that on this particular key, set the value as a stringified version of whatever data you received, which in this case is reminders. And in case of this catch error, if there is any, we'll just go error saving reminders and whatever is the error. Okay, just console that error. We don't need to do anything because, well, if it fails to save, we don't want to save a empty array, like stringified version of empty array or something. Okay, I don't think that's actually required. It's kind of an overkill. Okay, so these are our helper functions. So we have a add reminder to add something, but to add something in the storage, you have to first fetch all the existing ones and then add it to the last bit of the array. The fetch reminder is actually will return, since it's a parsed JSON, it would actually be a proper object that is returned, our array of objects, which is why we are able to actually do this push on top of that. Hmm. Yeah, and save is basically, yeah, saving to it. Okay, I think that should be fine enough. So now we go back to our add reminder.tsx, and we can add it right here. So now instead of console logging it, okay, what we want to do is await add reminder, and we'll pass it the new reminder that we created, and then finally we will do like router dot back. Now, if we are using await here, and why are we using await? If you remember, it is because add reminder is going to be a promise, so you need to wait for that promise to get fulfilled, right? So that eventually ensures that, like, makes us may change this function to be asynchronous. So now handle save is asynchronous, and that I think is everything that we want to do for adding a reminder. Okay, so this is stored right now. It is being getting stored inside the async storage. But how do we see it? Well, there are multiple things that we need to actually add to see this on screen. But I'll start with the very basic, which is okay. Let's start with reminder card. Things to add in reminder card. This is fine. No, any imports are fine actually. Reminder card props. Okay. This needs a bunch of things. It needs an ID, which should be of type string, card title, icon background color, number of reminders, and on press. Okay. So why an on press? What am I going to do? What we want is that when you click on a particular card, okay, so these are the reminder cards. This two for like today, low priority, medium priority, high priority. These are reminder cards. When someone clicks on one of these, it should basically show a list of reminders. Okay, so this is more like a collection, and on click of that, it should show you individual reminders here. So I click on low priority, it should show me a list of all the low priority ones. I click on today, it should show all the reminders, regardless of whether it is low priority or high priority. If it needs to be done today, it needs to show it here. Okay, so it needs to show a list, is what we are eventually going for. So an ID there, icon, card title, number of reminders, and this, and finally it will also take a on press. So now on press, I've defined this as a, like, this is a custom function. Okay, you can call it anything. On card click, let's say. Okay, you can call it that as well, but I'm going to call it on press so that the naming is kind of similar slash same. And we are saying that onPress is a function which will not take any parameter and will not return anything. Okay, so void return. Okay, now this view, well, because we need to click on this, it changes from a view to touchable opacity. And we know that touchable opacity has this on press, which we will give it on press. We can also make this pressable actually. The But for our use case, either of those should be fine. And we'll give the reason why we added the id was so that we can pass it to the key, because this is kind of going to be mapped over a bunch of things. So the key should be passed so that it remains unique, right? That is why we use the key. Okay, I think that's good. So now if you see, if I click on it, you know, you have this change in opacity, which is why it's called touchable opacity. The opacity reduces and gives you this feeling of, okay, this is being pressed, but this is being clicked. Okay, so that's our reminder card kind of done. But we need to add one more thing, which is the reminder list. Okay, and this is going to be very big, very massive. So unfortunately, what I'm going to do is a bit of copy paste. Let's start with some very basic here, and then we can move from there. Okay, so what do I have? I have this reminder props, which is saying like what will a reminder ideally contain. And if I'm not wrong, we have something similar defined. Yeah, this reminder. Okay, so we can basically say that this is what I am using right here. Yeah, id string, title string, date string, time string. Priority, I'm going for like this priority, low, medium, and high, and completed boolean. So we can only we should only define it at one place. And I think for the time being, actually defining it in reminders list makes much more sense. I'm going to remove it from here. I'm also going to remove the priority from here, add it right in reminders list. So now this uses priority from here, and even the reminder props, actually the reminder props come from the components slash reminders list. Now this would also change in our storage helper, unfortunately. So let me also change a bunch of things there. Okay, so there we go. That is our reminders list that we have started developing. So as I said, it is going to be a list of things. So whatever we actually, so why did we have it twice? Because whatever you add in the add new reminder is what you are eventually passing back to the list. Okay, so if you are adding title, date, time, priority, then, well, actually that is what is going to be shown to the user, right? So that is why yeah, the list has the same props as what we were passing to the add reminder. But I think having it at one place, a single place, makes much more sense. So that is why we are putting it in reminders list, because that is a component. Add reminder is more of a page. Okay. Okay. Now inside this, I don't think we have much to do. So what I have is priority reminder props. That's fine. You understand that. Reminders list props has, first it will show, like it has three things, which is reminders, then on complete. Now this one takes a parameter. It takes the ID, which is of type string, and does not return anything. And on delete, we are saying that again it takes an ID and it does not have to return anything. It will perform some action and just be done with it. Uh, so this is the best way actually kind of define a function to not return anything if you don't have to. You will do some internal magic and that's it. But you can also sometimes make things return a number. So like someone creates this uh, on complete, it should return a 0 or 1 or something like that. We'll go with void. So reminder list props, it's taking three things, and that is what I've done here. We are basically passing it to reminder list, and then this React is what we need to import. So import React from React. React, now this is going to be a functional component, which should basically satisfy this reminder list props. So that is why it destructures into three things. It is reminders, the on complete, and on delete. Now in here is, we don't have to actually do anything, like we don't have to do any calculations as such. We can directly work on the view of it. So view, and now this is helpful, right? Because you remember the flat list, okay, that we have already used, which I said like it is more performant and it gives you these extra functionalities. So that is what we are going to use again. And I don't have to spend too much time actually explaining what it is. So I am going to directly work over adding it. So I'm going to delete this, copy paste a bunch of things. Need to import theme and a bunch of other things. Flat list comes from React Native. Uh, Text again comes from React Native. Format, actually, now this is something that we need to install, unfortunately. So I'm installing datefns library because that has a ton of helper functions to format date and time. Okay, so this format is actually going to come from datefns, and this sparse ISO is also going to come from datefns. Feather is the icons, and for some reason it says feather is not defined, so we'll just copy it from somewhere else. Okay, uh, the npx expo command for installing datafns. I am sending that in the chat quickly. So there we go to install datafns basically. Okay, touchable opacity. This is fine, and I think that should be it. Style sheet. This comes from React Native as well. Yep, I think that's good. Okay, so I'll go over the component, not very quickly, but also not very slowly. We have a view, and inside that we have a flat list. We are basically, as I said, going to show a list, right? So on click of something, it should show a list. So the data is going to be the reminders. Okay, this is not going to show the mock data, which is why it is not working right now. It is actually going to be the reminders that are going to be stored inside the local storage, async storage, right? So we also need to hook that up properly. So that's the data that we are going to show. The key extractor to extract a unique key. The render item is where you are going to pass a component. Now you can take this view, like everything here, into a separate const render or something, but I've added it inside this, which is very simple. You have a view which wraps everything. There's a title that it will show. Then there is a list of things which is like date and time. Okay. So all the props basically that was passed to the reminders is what it is going to show. Okay. So just visual things. Then depending on what the alert priority is, I have like three icons which we have kind of seen uh, in reminder card. No, in data, I think. Yeah, this alert circle, alert triangle, and alert octagon. This is what we saw, and exactly that is what that I am passing, like checking here, like if the item priority is low, which, and how do we save this? When someone is creating a reminder, they will choose what is the item priority. So if it is low, then show a alert circle. If it is medium, then alert triangle. Else, if it is not low or medium, it's going to be, of course, high. Okay. And even the colors, if it is low, then it is green in color. If it is medium, it is yellow. Else, it is high and red. Flex spacer is to add some spacing between items. Touchable opacity again to, yeah, this is basically for the clicking. Okay. So as I said, that you would want to click on something to mark it as completed or incomplete. So that is what this piece of code is doing. So there's this touchable opacity, and there you're saying that if it is already on complete and item is not completed, like, sorry, this is like checking if the function is being called and not item dot completed, then pass it this id string, okay, of completing. uh, and there's the icon. So if it is completed, then show a check mark, else show a circle, and also the color of it. If it is completed, then show a green check mark actually. If it is not completed, then a black circle, some spacer, and a delete button, which will on click just do stuff. So on press, it will call the on delete function. And if that exists, which is another way of saying on delete and this question mark dot, and we'll pass it the id. So if this is being called, if this is defined, then pass it the id, and that will call the on delete function. And that is actually the reminders list. Let me delete the data. If I delete the data, we'll get a bunch of places where it is causing problems. Yeah, there we go. Not needed anymore. Yeah, index. Now, this is what we need to fix. Currently, it is actually getting the data from uh, from that mock data, but I've deleted the mock data completely, right? So now this map is going to fail, of course. So we need to fix this very quickly. And to fix it is like, we'll have to make a bunch of changes. So let's start doing that. So const reminders and set reminders. And we'll use the use state. And this will be of type reminder List props? No, reminder props. An array of reminder props. Let's see what is reminder props. It's ID, title, date, time, string. Okay, perfect. I think this is what we want. Yeah, but an array of it. Okay, not a single item. An array of it, and we'll set it initial state as empty. Then expanded priority, comma set expanded priority and use state. Now this has multiple types. It has actually low, medium, high, today, or null. And initially we'll set it to null. Okay, so what is this about? So when someone, as I said, uh, this is a problem. Okay, I can't show, but try to visualize it in your mind. We had the cards. So there was a today card, low priority, medium priority, high priority. Someone clicks on the today card for the first, like when someone opens the app for the first time, everything should be minimized slash closed. Okay. What I mean by that is only the cards will show with how many reminders are inside the card, but it will not show expanded list. But now if someone clicks on the today one, okay, so the card of today which we have made it pressable, okay, then it should show all the reminders, a list of reminders related to today. Then you click on low, okay, you had clicked on today, it was showing the reminder for today. Then you click on the low reminders, and then it should show all the reminders that are actually marked as uh, low priority. Okay, low priority list of it, so it should replace the previous list that was open with the new list. And what happens if someone clicks on low priority again? So in my case, that is where the null comes in. That is like it is going to reset the state to not show it. So let's say it was show, if someone clicks on it for the first time, it shows a list. You click on it again, it hides the list, closes the list. That is where the null will be helpful to us in a way. Uh, what else? What else? What else do we need to do? Yeah, today's date. We need to fix or find the today's date. So const today's date equals to new date dot to iso string dot split. Why are we doing this? So in our priority, which is still hidden because we deleted stuff, when we set our new reminder, we have the title, the date, the time, and priority, but none of the priority says today. It is only low, medium, and high. So when we read the data from the local storage, the async storage, sorry, when you read the data from the async storage, you need to know if the data that we are reading, if any one of them actually is showing today's date, right? So that is why we are going to use this today date to actually know what is today's date. And then once we read the data, we will filter out, okay, filter out everything that is supposed to be done today. That is why that. And the next interesting thing is use focus effect. So everyone knows about the use effect hook, right? And use focus effect hook is actually very similar, I would say, to the use effect hook. The difference, I think, would be the naming, of course, and the way it works. Okay. So what difference does it make in the way it works? So use focus effect. First of all, where is it imported from? Uh, yeah, Expo router. Okay, comes from Expo router, and the idea is that, let's say you open a page, you open the add reminders page, then you do a bunch of things and you click on save. Remember that the storage was a async storage. Okay, so it will take its own sweet time to actually add your data in the async storage and then update your screen. Okay, so then either you need to create a reference to something that keep a track of this variable, and whenever this variable changes, then just do something again. Now, with use focus effect, what you actually say is that whenever the screen comes in focus, so when you open the reminders page and you add something, your original all reminder screen is hidden. So it is out of focus and you have stacked on top of it. You add some data in add reminders, click on save, then that add reminder closes and your previous all reminder screen comes into focus. And when it comes into focus, then we want to do some side effects like fetching some data. So that is, I think, a very handy thing which exists in mobile app development. Okay, I think there should also be like something as a part of web app development, like use focus. Now this takes into parameters. uh, we'll use add a callback. Whenever it comes into focus, we need to say asynchronous, like asynchronously just go and actually get me all my stored reminders. We'll await the fetch reminders, and then we'll call the set reminders, and inside that set reminders we will actually say that the stored reminders dot filter out a reminder such that it only has the reminder which is not completed. Okay, so that is important. And after this we'll call the load reminder here, and then after this we'll run this effect once, and that's it. Run this callback once. So use focus effect needs the effect, and do not pass a second prop, never. Okay, needs one prop only. So I was wrong there, that it needs two things. uh, yeah, and the first prop that it needs is a callback, so we are using the use callback, and we are calling this load remind, like creating this load reminders function which asynchronously fetches data from, like using the fetch reminders that we have created in our storage helpers, and then we set the local state to using this set reminders, and we also filter out anything that is like not completed. That is what should be seen by the user here. Anything that is completed should be pushed to the other screen that we will have, like that we have actually. Some more helper functions: const handle card press, and that is actually going to be equal to, depending on the priority that we have. I'm going to copy paste that quickly. So low, medium, high, or today. Somehow today is not a priority, but I've added, given it that name. And did I call it ser? Should be set. Set expanded priority. And we'll say if expanded priority equals to whatever is the list or in priority, then now else priority. Then const filtered reminders. We'll say reminders dot filter for each reminder. We'll say expanded priority if it is triple equals to today, then in that case reminder dot date equals to today's date, else reminder dot priority equals to expanded priority. Okay, I think that should be fine. Okay, now this is going to be a big one actually, and yeah, depending on the time, I think copying and pasting this would be quicker. So two big functions that we are going to write is handle complete and handle save. Okay, and I think this is seen better visually, but I can go over it quickly. So handle complete, it shows an alert which is mark as completed. Do you want to mark this reminder as completed? And we'll have two options. A user will have two options saying like yes, like cancel or yes. Cancel, well, of course, it's just cancel, nothing happens. But if you click on yes, that I want to mark this reminder as completed, then in that case, okay, so there is this on press, and in that case, we will say that updated reminders is equals to reminders dot map, and check like which reminder did the user click on. So how do you check that? You check what is like if the reminder dot id is equal to the id that was passed to the handle complete. If it is equal, then in that case, take that reminder and change the completed flag, which was initially false, to true, else leave it as is. And then set the local reminders state by like, change it, and from the updated reminders, filter out anything which is like not completed. Here we marked something as completed, so now that would be removed. Okay, and then await the save reminders helper function that we have created, because we want to save this to our local storage. Excuse me, sorry. uh, and there's this handle delete, which is going to do something very similar. That is like, do you want to delete this? If someone says yes, delete that, in that case, whatever they said, like, delete this thing, you filter out everything uh, else, and except for whatever you clicked on that deleted. Okay, so you don't get it, and then you fetch all the reminders from local storage, and now whatever was deleted, you remove that from your local storage, basically, is what we are doing, right? I say local storage, but understand that it is like the async storage that I'm talking about. Okay. Mm, Again, copying and pasting some basic styles that we have. Reminder card, we all know reminder list is something that we just created. Okay, so what styles we have? A view that wraps everything. Our headline remains the same. Card container is reminder card. So if we go here, yeah. So we basically changed the way we were showing the reminder card. We were previously mapping over the fake data that we had. Now we are saying that, yeah, there is this reminder card with ID today, card title today, icon calendar, some background color. And then we have these three priorities, and then we are mapping over it and creating three more cards with some additional details. Okay. As in, like, if it is the priority is low, then show a circle, set the color as green. So we are doing that like 4 times. This is the first card, and this is the other three cards. Okay, that's all that it means. You could have done it for by saying like low, medium, high, today, and then something like that. But I think this is fine. Then the expanded priority, which is our local state function that we have, local state variable that we have. So if someone says like if this becomes true, then in that case you show the list of reminders, and reminders will the list will be all the filtered reminders. Okay, filtered reminders in the sense, uh things will get deleted, things will be marked complete. uh so just filter it out accordingly and show only that. If something is marked complete, then call the function handle complete that we saw right now. And if something is marked as deleted, then call the handle delete, which we saw again. Okay. So now let's add some data and see it in action. GHW part 1. This happened on like 10th of November. Uh, and it was, let's say, high priority. And I'm going to copy this, save it, and it goes into high priority. I click on it, and there we go. High priority. So title, date, time, and this date is in this format because of uh, data finesse. Time format remains as is. Uh, the icon, again, that is something that we have written inside a reminder list, which is like what to show depending on, yeah, the priority. This click checkbox, on click of that, it asks mark as completed. Do you want to mark this reminder as completed? There's a yes or a cancel. You say cancel, let's say. And the delete button, delete a reminder, yes or cancel, let's say cancel. And I will create a few more. Part 2, that was a low priority and today. Then, like, of course, that's not true. Come on. GHW part 3, which was on 11th of November, medium, save, and then I'll create again GHW part 4 for future date like 16th of November, and the time as like 15:42, I think. Yep. And make this a high priority again, save. So there are two things today. I click on that. You see part 2 and part 4 are today. I click on it again. It hides. Okay. And they have one, like one is low priority, one is like high priority. So if I go into low priority, yep, there it is. High priority, medium priority. Perfect. I click on mark as completed. Which one am I marking completed? Part 2 I'm marking completed. Yes, that goes away. So there's now nothing in low priority. And part 2 is gone. Part 1 and part 4 is are all that remain. Okay. If I delete the part 3, are you sure you want to delete this reminder? Delete it. And there it goes. Bye bye. We only have part 1 and part 4 remaining. And if I go into completed reminders, well, we haven't actually fixed that yet. But I think this is a good point to actually push everything. Okay. I had to like copy paste a bunch of things due to time constraints. But I hope I've done a good job of explaining. So what did we do? We added async storage reminders list. I think, yeah, these were two major things that we worked on, and push this. If anyone wants to quickly clone it, please feel free. Okay, so now I think to complete our MVP, the final part is to actually move the things that we said are completed into this completed reminders, right? So let's add that. So we go inside app, tabs, completed, and well, this is going to be very simple and very similar to what we had before. So, well, depending on the time, I think again, doing what I'm going to do is much better. Fetch reminder comes back in, save reminders. Okay, so what are we doing in completed? We are basically saying that when someone focuses on that screen, in that case, lower like created our load reminders again, which goes in and fetches all the reminders and then filters out anything which is marked as completed. So the completed prop is set to true. And yeah, so anytime you kind of focus on that screen, it shows you what was marked as completed. And inside that, we still have the handle delete. So it will have the delete button. So there we go. So we had marked something as completed, and then we had stopped the server and restarted the server, refreshed the server. But because it's stored in this async storage, kind of like local storage, it is still available in the memory. Okay, so that is why we can go into completed and it shows what was marked as completed. This was marked as completed and it has a delete button, so you can delete it from the completed as well. That is why the handle delete existed there. And very simply, it is again a reminders list. That's a good thing about components, right? It's supposed to look same. So handle delete, which has an on delete, which has the handle delete. And notice that reminders list also took in this on complete. But if we don't pass it, then it doesn't use it, right? So there we go. I think that is all we had to do. A reminder set reminders use state for local state management. uh, when you delete, you basically say that remove it completely, and we also remove it completely from storage as well. So if I delete this, it's gone forever. Okay, only two high priority ones remain, everything else is gone. So actually, I think this is the perfect time to push it again with saying MVP complete. Actually, okay. So there we go, folks. We have successfully completed the MVP of our reminders app. The link to the project is in the chat, so I'm not going to paste it again. But yeah, there it is. There we go. Now, what are the additional functionalities that you can look into? Like some basic ones, let's say. One is haptics. Okay. So anytime you mark something as completed, you can kind of give this vibration in the phone. Okay. And to do that, what you need to use is haptics, which Expo gives us. So I'm going to send a link in the chat. And the usage is also very simple. Example, you first install it, npx expo install expo haptics, import it in this manner only. And whenever, where was, let's say, our uh, not the completed, in the index page, yes, when we did the handle complete, yes, this function, okay, right here on press, you could actually do this haptics dot notification async. It is a success notification. Okay, so actually I can try to do it quickly, but I don't think I'll be able to completely. But you can copy this thing, and unfortunately you cannot show it in the simulator, well, because how will that simulator handle the vibration? uh, but what you can do, actually, what did I do? Whatever, ignore that. uh, yeah, what you can do is like test it on your phone. On your phone it will work as you want it to work, right? So yeah, you can basically add it right here inside this on press. Actually, let me quickly try. Cannot show it visually, you'll have to do it on your phone. Check it. But npx expo install haptics, once that is done, need to import it. So I'm going to import it right here, and then I'm going to copy these three lines and handle complete. There it goes. Actually, one line, not even three lines, sorry. One line. And I need to check it on my phone. First, I need to add some reminder, which I'm doing right now. Should come back on screen probably, because, well, this is not visual. Plus, I'm not even on screen. Okay. So I've added a medium priority one. I click on mark as completed. I click on yes, and it does vibrate. And I don't know how do I actually show it to you, but yes, it works. It works perfectly. Okay. I'm not lying. All I had to do was just add those things. You have error, you have success, you have warning. Well, of course, for successfully completing a task, you want to give it a success haptic notification. Okay. So just gives you very slight vibration. And on Android, it actually vibrates much more vigorously in a way. Okay, it's a huge vibration in Android. For iOS, it's a very simple one. I'd say more like a TikTok vibration. Uh, okay, so that is another thing that we have actually added now. So haptics feedback. Uh, One last thing could be, which is which is something that we see in our day-to-day apps, which is some animations, right? What animations am I talking about? Let's say sliding this thing, sliding it from the left or right. Okay, that is one animation which I think is very popular inside in phone. Uh, so you slide it from the right hand side towards left hand side, and you can perform some action, like let's say mark it as completed. And if you slide from the left hand side to right hand side, then you can say delete this. Okay. And yeah, I think that is one of the things that you could check out. uh, I actually did that. I added React Native gesture. Yeah, gesture handler, and it has a very extensive documentation about how to use it, what it is. So I will share the link in the chat with their documentation. And when I give, like, do the final push, I will actually add that animation as well. So you can keep an eye on the repository. I will add that functionality of when you swipe in from the right hand side, uh, it will mark it as complete. When you swipe in from the left hand side, it will delete the item. So then you don't have to click on a button. Okay, it will just be swiped. uh, yeah, and I would definitely say that this is a very good library, maintained by SW Mansion. They also have another one. This is gesture handler. They have React Native Reanimated. Yeah, from the same company. Okay, again, really good for animations. That was gesture handling. This is animations. I'll send this over as well in the chat. Okay, and also let me push what we have till now. Hmm. Okay, cool. So even this is done. uh yeah, haptics is, I think, another important thing that could be done, and we have done that. What else? Animations, yes, that is something that I've told you all, that you should look into adding those animations as well. uh, Let me see if I can do it in record time. Okay, we need to do the npx expo install actually for that. And where does this go? It actually goes into our reminder list because we will eventually, not we will eventually, we actually are updating each item in the list. So what did I do? Deleted everything. And yep, and let me start this. Okay, there are, oh, I still have one error to fix here. I need to add it to the root layout. The error says it all that it must be a descendant of this gesture handler root view. So we just need to add that uh, to our layout, like to our parent layout. I think that should do the trick. Let's see. And there we go. If I slide in mark as completed, yes, and it marks it as completed and it goes in here. Part 4, delete. Do you want to delete this reminder? Delete, and it gets deleted and it is not in the completed. So there we go. That is actually our gesture done, right? Yeah. If I go into this one, now this is weird. Why would you mark this as complete? So you need to fix this. That if it is if it is already completed, then don't allow swiping. Even though you see that it does not do anything. If you do the delete, then there's also this problem. Delete, cancel, and then nothing happens. They should swipe back automatically, which it doesn't. But on delete, like you don't even have to click. All you am doing is swipe it, delete, delete, and delete. Perfect. So yeah, that is everything from my end. Any questions, anyone? I'll also check it on my phone very quickly. Yeah, need to just basically fix those some weird bugs that I have, but everything else should be fine with gestures as well. Let me push that as well. So gesture handler was added to the root, and in the reminders, actually like bunch of things. I think probably this is the problem. So I'll try and fix that and then push it. Anyways, meanwhile, you all can give it a try. Okay, anyone who has watched it till now, the MVP and the MVP with haptics is out there. You can add more haptics on, like, let's say, on deleting something, on adding something. Uh, delete, go for error. When you add something, go for warning that this is a task for you to complete now. That is why it's a warning. And yeah, any questions, anyone? Hopefully, this was enjoyable. I definitely enjoyed learning about React Native, uh, and I hope it was good for you all as well. Okay, if there are no questions, I am going to end the session. Thank you so much, everyone who joined. Thank you so much, everyone who followed along, who patiently listened to my ramblings. Once again, the reminders app code is on GitHub right there. It has instructions as well. Just need to do npm install in and then install Expo Go application on your phone. Start using the command which is on the README, npx expo start dash c, so that there's no caching at any caching. Scan the QR code, play with it, share it with your friends. You can do the tunneling. I think that is one thing that could be written. Uh, but you can Google that, right? How do you tunnel Expo app so that you can send a QR code to your friends in the whole wide world? As long as your laptop is switched on and the app is running, they can actually use the app. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, everyone. And thanks a lot for these kind words. Really appreciate them. Okay, cool. Thanks a lot. Cheers, everyone. Bye bye. I hope the next session excites you because it is building a unique portfolio part two, actually. So you'll join Ryan into building a very unique portfolio, and I hope you have a very fun time there. Okay. Cool. Cheers, everyone. Bye bye again.